Do you wonder what's happening in your facility? You should. If you don't, you've probably got people walking around with keys, going into openings that they shouldn't, trying openings that they shouldn't, and you don't have any idea. You may have installed a traditional access control system to get better control of certain openings, which makes sense, but it's expensive and it only solves a couple of openings. For the rest of them, you've got what I just described. People coming and going, and you have no idea when they are. That's what Medeco XT with data analytics solves. We've got cylinders that simply replace the cylinders in your existing hardware. They don't require any wiring, any power of any sort. They get all that from the key. And you give out a key to your users that's a lot like a regular key, except it's very sophisticated. With this key, we can program access to particular openings, particular doors for hours of the day, from 8 to 5, for instance. And we can see when those doors have been opened, and as importantly, we can see when people try to get into openings that they shouldn't go into. And that's the power that Medeco XT cylinders with data analytics start to bring to your facility. Now, when you put this in, you begin to get visibility. You can see what people are doing, which is very important, but now you need a way to really manage and understand that data. You could use a traditional audit trail, which is what traditional access control uses, but it's got its problems. And let me explain what that is. Let's look at that view in our software, and then we'll look at data analytics, and we'll contrast the difference. So a traditional audit trail gives us lines and lines of data. So here I've got 619 pages of user information. The problem is, without deep analysis and cross-analysis, I don't even know what the question is. I don't know who's doing what, whether they should be or not, and that's the problem. That's what data analytics solves. So let's take a look at a different way of viewing this very same data. Now we're going to look. So in the first screen, we can see that several of our users are very active. This is showing the amount of activity from their key. But more importantly, I can see in this next chart below that I have one user, Joe Prescott, who's my top unauthorized user, meaning he is trying things that he shouldn't be far more than anybody else is. So immediately, first screen, we know who we need to investigate. In this case, it's Joe. Well, let's dig deeper on Joe. Now, we're going to click on Joe's graph, and now with the knowledge of who, we can see when. So I can look by day and know for the first 30 or so days that Joe worked for us, we had no problems. But here recently, we're seeing a little bit of activity that is concerning. So let's take a deeper look then, and we'll look at a particular day. We dig in here. Now we know what doors that Joe's going into. So I can see that the front entrance is Joe's most common entrance, along with a few others, and I can see there's some unauthorized activity on those openings. But I want to go one deeper. I want to know why Joe's doing this. So I look to this screen. Now I can tell everything Joe's done throughout this day we selected, right down to the minute, if that's how often it occurred. So we can see Joe opened the store up in the morning, things went along like they should have. But here at the end of the day, long past store closing, at 10:31, Joe tried to get into several doors. And they're highlighted red because it says he couldn't do that. So with Medeco XT, we're very quickly able to convert this very daunting pile of audit data into something very usable, very actionable. In 3 clicks, we determined who our problem was, when the problem was occurring, what openings the problem's occurring on, and even when we look more closely, we get a sense of why, whether it made practical sense in the business or not. So we knew we needed to talk to Joe. So contrast that to your business today. If you're still using mechanical keys, you have no idea when people are trying to come into your business, when they're trying doors that they shouldn't. If Joe had done this with a mechanical key, he would have come into the building, done what he set out to do, and left, and you'd have no idea. With XT, it's a new way of securing your building. It's a new way of understanding what's occurring in that building. Frankly, it's a new way of handling security.